New York Senator Kirsten Gillibrand is in New Hampshire this weekend trying to woo Democratic voters in her possible bid for president. Earlier on Saturday, the senator took a walking tour of Portsmouth, where she stopped by local businesses. With her visit, she's one of the first presidential hopefuls to stop in the key battleground state. Joining us now is University of New Hampshire political science professor Dante Scala. So, Dante, Kirsten Gillibrand is really in the middle of this trip. She's announcing her 2020 exploratory committee. How's she being received?
I think she's been received favorably so far. Right now, New Hampshire Democratic activists and voters are very much in the first part of the courting ritual, which is the New Hampshire primary. So there's a lot of politeness all around, a lot of eagerness to see the new candidates, but not a lot of hurry in making decisions on the part of activists and voters. They want to see the entire field of Democratic candidates, which, as you know, is rather large.
I know it's early, but is there anything that she's saying, her messaging, that's resonating with the people of New Hampshire?
Not quite yet. I think one of the challenges for her is that she is part of a very large second tier of candidates. And by that, I mean Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, both New England candidates. Bernie Sanders, of course, ran before. They have lots of name ID in this state. And then there's, of course, Joe Biden. If he gets in the race, he's well known. But then there's definitely a step down to the rest of the field that is not well known yet. And a lot of these candidates have very similar sounding messages and positions on issues. So for her and others, it's going to be a challenge to try on different messages and find one that suits them and one that gets them a niche in this very large field.
You know, we know New Hampshire will be a key battleground state. It's home to the first Democratic primary. How important is it for candidates to really get an early jump on campaigning there?
It's important both here and in Iowa to be here early and often, especially with such a large field of candidates, because most of the candidates don't know whether they're going to be well received or especially well received in Iowa or in New Hampshire. So it's important to spend time in both states to see if they can find an audience and an electorate that clicks with their message, their personality, and so forth. But New Hampshire and Iowa are going to winnow this field quite a large degree come next winter. So it's important for them to spend time here before they move on to other states.
What do New Hampshire voters want to hear from presidential campaigns? Is there something particular that really sticks with them?
You know, Democrats right now, especially the activists who are showing up to these very early events, they're primarily concerned with defeating President Trump. And there are a lot of schools of thought about what type of candidate would be best to do that. And for someone like Senator Gillibrand, I think her appeal might be, I can reach out to diverse constituencies. I can represent, New York State, but I can represent upstate New York, which is a more rural area of the country, and that I can put together a coalition that can, say, beat Donald Trump in places like Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan.
Senator Gillibrand scheduled a lot of time with young voters in the state this weekend. How important is it to win the young vote, and what are the issues that are really important to them?
They are somewhat important to winning New Hampshire. I mean, they will show up at the presidential primary next year, and they will, more importantly, perhaps, provide a lot of the workforce for these campaigns. There is a lot of young activists who are just itching to work on a campaign day and night. So that's where they provide a lot of the energy and the manpower and woman power to get the campaign working in New Hampshire. For them, issues that are important include marijuana legalization, which is going to be discussed by the New Hampshire State Legislature this year, voting rights, as well as the Me Too movement. And so Senator Gillibrand will certainly show her credentials in that regard, I imagine.
Dante Scala, thank you very much, Dante, for joining us.
You're very welcome.